Yeah. Do you get a lot of people who feel like they're at their wits' end? What are like things you're seeing people doing outside of drugs, patterns that I would love to, if it's okay to hear about some of those, because I would love for people to know that these types of things are repairable.
Yeah. Maybe the biggest one right now is the number of people burning out. They just are like working 60, 80-hour weeks, and they're getting to a point where they're just can't do this anymore. What's going on with my life? And that's what I was talking about with the sympathetic nervous system. I'm getting tired. I'm starting to burn out, but if I dig a little deeper, I can push, I can keep going until you eventually do burn out.
Yeah, that's where the society affected me, because there was always that you have to grind hard, or the 70-minute work week or something, or like, the 4-minute relationship. There's all these books that are like, what? This is unrealistic, man.
Exactly.
The 50-second life. And you're like, why would I even want to do that?
Exactly.
And so that's where society even pushed me even further. And about 4 years ago, I had like a breakdown. It was like, I was burnt out. I couldn't even listen to somebody talk because there was no...
Yes, you can't concentrate.
And it made me, it physically exhausted me to listen to somebody in a conversation. And I kept working.
Yes.
There's an episode of this podcast where I felt man. And just the fact that then I start to feel bad that I treated myself that way, Anyway.
So can I share a little bit from me?
Yeah, please, man.
I got into this work over 20 years ago, but that was after 7 years of burnout.
Wow.
So I had worked for till I was 32, and all of a sudden I was just tired all the time. I couldn't sleep. I was and my eyes were getting like, my wife would go, something's wrong with you. Your eyes are really looking weird.
Yeah, you're looking big. You're about to eat a fly.
They get dark, and then went to doctor after doctor, and eventually put me on disability. But I went through 7 years of depression and hell and anxiety, and when I came to the end of what the government would give me for disability, I had to go back to work. So I just worked on farms. I milked cows. I took care of horses. And that was very healing for me. That was very therapeutic. But then a lady I knew, she came to me and said, Tim, we really need help with this treatment center, and I think you'd be the perfect counselor.
And that cow's out of milk, too. So
and I said,
let's rein it in.
I said, I think you got the wrong guy. I can't go back to that world. And she came back about 3 months later, and she said, Tim, I think you're the guy. Please give it some thought. And I said, okay, I'll go for the interview. But when I went for the interview, and I said, okay, I'll give it a try for 3 months. But I told myself, if you don't make some major changes in how you go about working, you're not going to make it. So you got to radically change your boundaries in life and people pleasing and all of that. But the first week, as I was working with these people with trauma and addiction, I was like, this is what I was made for.
Wow.
These are my people. And I fell in love with it. But it came after, all of my work came after 7 years of hell burnout that I brought on myself because of my trauma.
But you didn't know it, though, right?
No. I thought I was doing the right thing by pushing myself. I was being a responsible father and husband. And so I had a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old.
Oh, wow. So you guys were really making love on the solstice,
then all of a sudden their dad just was sick and in bed all the time. And they basically all went through abandonment trauma because their dad disappeared from their life for 7 years.
And were you using did you use pills and stuff? You didn't. You were just depressed.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, one of the toughest things I found when I was struggling was when I was physically struggling, right? Like I'd gotten so depleted.
Yeah.
That all the doctors I would go to, they couldn't really diagnose it.
Exactly.
You know, they would
called
take
me
my
chronic
blood.
fatigue syndrome.
Yeah. And you're looking up all these crazy things. And then you're wearing, you know, like at one point I was just like, I had on like one of those, I'd bought like a posture organizer from the thing. And I just had like a couple, like some shake weights and some weighted anklets on. And people are like, what are you doing? And I'm like, they say this works, you know, like.
Try the bracelets.
Oh, everything. Oh, my Whoop bracelet just kept
I used
calling
to
an
have people bring me
ambulance.
little mason jars of their home concoctions that were going to cure me.